As Christians, we have an enemy who is bent on keeping us from reaching our full potential in Christ and the abundant life that Jesus has for us. Join me as we explore some common strongholds that as Christians we may be facing.
A word that we often hear in church or just used in preaching or teaching is the word stronghold. Think of the word stronghold. What is an example of the type of stronghold that Satan could have on a person? What comes to your mind? My mind, I automatically think to some kind of addiction like drugs or alcohol, pornography. I think of those types of strongholds initially. But really, a stronghold is a thing that, a sin, a besetting sin perhaps, that stands in the way of your relationship with God and being all that He created you to be. We automatically, I think of like the big addictions of life. But strongholds can really be anything that stands in the way of your relationship with God, that holds you back from the best version of yourself, for your full potential in Him. Strongholds hinder you as a Christian. They keep you down or defeated, maybe in some kind of endless cycle. Sometimes a stronghold can ultimately destroy your life, and that could even be something like the stronghold of your tongue and not being able to control it. But just as a reminder, in case you haven't heard this lately, Satan's number one goal is to destroy you. Don't forget that. We have a real enemy, and he wants us destroyed. We see the word stronghold in the Bible in 2 Corinthians 10:4, if you want to look that up sometime. It's in 2 Corinthians 10:4. Strongholds are serious business, and you nor I am immune to it. In fact, Satan would absolutely love to gain footing into your life in some area and cause a stronghold on your life. And there's lots of different kinds of strongholds. There's physical strongholds. There's things that a lot of teenagers deal with, self-harm. I think of that. Or physical strongholds, maybe being in some kind of impure relationship. You're not married yet and you're in an impure physical relationship with someone, or maybe you are married and you're in an impure physical relationship with someone outside of your marriage. There's mental strongholds, which can be anything from fear to anxiety, things that we deal with sometimes mentally, maybe emotional strongholds, feeling unlovable all the time or hopeless or worthless, self-hatred, those types of things. Satan's got a number of tricks in his bag. He's got a big bag of tricks, and he's more than ready and willing to try them on you and me. Maybe you don't feel, maybe you're someone that doesn't feel like you have a stronghold currently. Maybe you don't have something holding you back, keeping you stuck. Maybe nothing really comes to your mind. Well, still pay attention, whoever you are out there, pay attention. In the next few weeks, you may just discover a thing or two about yourself and strongholds. Today, I'm going to be talking about the stronghold of anger. The stronghold of anger. I'm going to read a story here and get going on this. All throughout her schooling, Nora knew Chloe. She was actually friends with her in middle school, but ever since high school, they drifted apart. Chloe was one of those girls who seemed to breeze through everything. She was nice, well-liked, made straight A's, and everything just seemed to come so easy for her. Not for Nora, though. Schoolwork was just that, work. She wasn't as well known as Chloe, who seemed to have all the right friends, and an abundance of them. But one thing that both girls had in common was drama. Not the kind that gives you a headache or makes you go home and cry. Drama as in theater drama. Their school was planning a spring production of Romeo and Juliet, and Nora wanted so badly to land the part of Juliet, but so did Chloe. Chloe always gets everything easy, but this time I have her beat, she thought. I know I can do this. I was meant for this role. Both girls auditioned, and finally Friday had arrived. Callbacks. Nora couldn't wait to read the result on the bulletin board, but her excitement quickly turned to a knot within her stomach when she saw it. The part of Juliet with the name Chloe Richardson typed out beside it. Nora immediately felt her heart beat faster as a rush of heat flooded her face and tears threatened to fall. That's it, she thought. I officially hate Chloe. I can't believe she stole the part from me. I only wanted one thing this year, and now that's down the drain. Ugh, I hate her. I hate her face, her voice, her perfect life. Nora never felt so mad before, so cheated. Anger took over, and before she knew it, she was scribbling out an anonymous note and sliding under the door of Chloe's locker. "Congrats, Chloe," it read. "Break a leg? No, really. I hope that you break your leg." My, oh my. She was not very happy. Nora felt anger towards Chloe. Her anger then caused her to lash out at this girl who really had done nothing wrong. She was just living her life, doing her thing, and did not probably even know she caused all of this upheaval in Nora's life. But ultimately, Nora's anger left her with hatred toward this girl. So when it comes to Satan's bag of tricks, anger is not only an easy one for him to use, but a common one. I mean, let's be real. It's a common one. You and I probably deal with it more than we'd like to admit. But before we get into that stronghold of anger, let's just take a step back and see anger from a bird's eye view. Anger, first of all, it's a powerful emotion. As we all probably know, it's a powerful emotion. The Bible has a lot to say about anger. That word anger is mentioned 455 times just in the Old Testament alone. But it's first mentioned in Genesis 4:5 with the story of Cain and Abel. We know that story, where one brother killed another. And its last mention is found in Revelation 19:15, which is the final wrath and judgment of God in the final days. And so anger is found, the topic of anger is found all throughout the Bible. Anger is not only a lot in the Bible, but it's a secondary emotion. That's something else to know about it being powerful. A powerful emotion, it's a secondary emotion. Not many people think about this, but when we feel anger, it is always because we first feel something else. Just recall Nora in the story. The story said that Nora had never before felt so mad, so cheated. Anger always follows something deeper. We feel anger because we first feel some kind of pain or injustice. And here's a list of some that we might feel that might cause anger in us. Failure, disappointment, sadness, feeling controlled by a person or a situation, feeling judged by others, feeling somehow cheated or mistreated in some way. Maybe wounds of your past that haven't healed can cause anger, the pain of a broken relationship, a difficult childhood, the pain of past or ongoing abuse. Anger, it can be, think about this. Anger can be compared to a smoke detector. I kind of like this analogy. Anger can be compared to a smoke detector in your house. It's a signal that something is wrong. And it's up to you to figure out what that something is and to deal with it in a healthy way. It's a secondary emotion. What is underneath causing that anger? So let's take a closer look at two types of anger that we might experience. Good anger versus bad anger. I've also heard it before, I just said a minute ago, that anger is like a smoke detector. I've also heard it before that anger is like a fire. And let me explain. It can be harnessed. A fire. Think of a fire. It can be harnessed and used for good. It's an element that you can use for good, even though it's a dangerous element. People use contained fires to burn trash. All the time, people do that. Maybe a warm fire in your living room on a cold winter night. That's nice. That's enjoyable. Or the fun of making s'mores at a bonfire in the fall. I love bonfires. Those are ways that fire can be harnessed and used for good. And there's other ways also. But it also can be misused and bring destruction. And I think of it back in 2016, there was some teenagers at chimney tops in the Smoky Mountains. Some teenagers on that trail playing with matches or some kind of fire. And it would have been fine on a normal day. Not that that's probably a good idea, but nobody expected the wind that came that day. There was 90-mile-per-hour wind. It was just kind of a weird, unexplainable thing that happened that day. Well, that fire that they started and left unattended blew through parts of the Smoky Mountains, Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forge area, and Several people were killed. Several were injured. I can't even remember how many buildings were destroyed or damaged by it. It was terrible, and it was a scary thing to see happening in my neck of the woods. And so it can be misused and bring destruction, as we know. And so let's look at good anger for a minute. Good anger might be described as being angry at sin. This kind of anger brings about positive things. Being angry at a person, maybe making fun of someone else and standing up for them. That kind of anger at sin is good and can bring about good. Being angry over sin in the church, that's a healthy kind of anger. Jesus showed a kind of righteous anger like this in John chapter 2, which I'm going to read a passage real quick. John chapter 2, verses 12 through 16. I'm going to read that. This is talking about Jesus here on his journeys. After this, he went down to Capernaum, he and his mother and his brethren and his disciples, and they continued there not many days. And the Jews' Passover was at hand, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem, and found in the temple those that sold oxen and sheep and doves, and the changers of money sitting. And when he had made a scourge of small cords, he drove them all out of the temple, and the sheep and the oxen, and poured out the changers' money, and overthrew the tables, and said unto them that sold doves, Take these things hence. Make not my Father's house a house of merchandise. And his disciples remembered that it was written, The zeal of thine house hath eaten me up. This is an instance where Jesus went to basically the church house, the temple. Back then he went to the temple where they were hosting the Passover in Jerusalem. And it was no different than the market he probably went and walked through on the way there. There were people using this facility, this building, as basically just a building to sell all of their goods in, as they did out in the streets, in the marketplace. And there was nothing holy about it. There was nothing righteous about it. They were using it for their own personal gain. It was not the place, not the time to be doing that. And Jesus took care of the problem. And he was moved to get these people out. He dumped their money out. He overthrew the tables, it said, and told them to leave. I think of that story. Ephesians 4:26 says, Be ye angry and sin not. I don't believe Jesus sinned at all in that situation. Those people needed to know that they were wrong. Anger's not a sin in every circumstance. Being angry over issues in our country, like abortion, like things that are disgusting that are running rampant right now, like drag queens performing for toddlers and children, being in the midst of this debauchery. Those are things that should anger us and move us to speak up or to stand up against these things. And so this kind of good anger, it's not selfish, and it can bring about positive change. And I think that's important to note. That's good anger, being angry at sin. And then there's bad anger. And bad anger burns people rather than our problems. It's brought on by something wrong under the surface. Bitterness, hatred, impatience, jealousy, hurt, pain. Bad anger might cause a person to say hateful, damaging, and untrue things to someone else. It might cause a person to physically hurt someone. It keeps people from God's house. It separates. It destroys relationships. It ends marriages. It causes someone to destroy another's personal property or break or damage things. It leads people to jail. This is what bad anger does. It burns people rather than our problems. And the Bible never tells us that we can't feel or express anger, but anger can easily become a stronghold on us if we do not deal with it in a healthy way. Ephesians 4:27 says, Neither give place to the devil. Proverbs 14:17 says, He that is soon angry dealeth foolishly. Proverbs 14:29 says, He that is slow to wrath is of great understanding, but he that is hasty of spirit exalteth folly. Both of those Proverbs verses warn us not to be quick-tempered, acting out in anger before thinking first. So bringing all of this full circle, maybe you have a problem with anger. Maybe you're quick-tempered and easily misuse this God-given emotion to burn others. Or maybe you're burning yourself. Rather than channeling it for some kind of good or dealing with whatever is wrong under the surface. You feel angry at a person or a situation in your life. Maybe even a little angry at God. I hope that's not the case, but maybe that's you today. And you don't know how to deal with it. And it does have a hold on you, and you know it. Let me tell you that Satan wants you to remain stuck with this problem. But the truth is that anger can be dealt with and sorted out and resolved. Anger's a secondary emotion, remember. What is the fuel igniting the fire of anger in your life? The next time you get angry, stop and ask yourself, what am I feeling inside that's causing this anger? And then deal with it. Bad anger can be extinguished with God's help, and you can put it to rest. You really can. Don't bury your anger. You never bury anger dead. It's always buried alive. It always comes back out into your heart and your life, and it manifests, and it always does if it isn't dealt with. So ask for help. Find someone that you can confide in. Find somebody that you could talk to this about, or even just start by talking to the Lord about it, and asking Him to help you deal with this problem of anger, because you can. And you can be loosed of this stronghold in your life. I'm confident in that. I hope this was a blessing and a help to you today. Thank you for listening.